action. Welcome to Redline Radio. Thank you, Miller Lite, for sponsoring this episode and all episodes.
It's hot.
It's damn hot.
Summer.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
But no, I'm just saying I'm thirsty when it's hot.
This weather is excessive, and Miller Lite is the greatest hot weather beer you can find.
Cold weather too, but hot weather definitely.
Something about how light and crisp, great tasting, less filling that white can is when you pop it.
Give me that noise. You like that sound?
I do like that sound.
How good of a sound is that?
It's a great sound.
It's a great sound.
A draftable sound, some would say.
The way to say it in college today is the best day in your life to be the best baseball player you can be. And I had the same way when it comes to drinking Miller Lite. Today is the best day you could ask for to drink an ice cold Miller Lite. It really is. Today is. Mm-hmm. And I know tomorrow's going to come, but I'm not worried about tomorrow. I'm thinking about today. I'm thinking about a great tasting, less filling. The beer of the summer.
Yeah, I say it a lot, but taking that can, putting it on your neck before you open it when it's hot like this, whew, that's a great feeling.
Summer moments are better with Miller Lite because summer loves beers that taste like beer. And with 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces, Miller Lite is the perfect light beer to sip on all summer long. We can't wait. Pool, fire pit, dive bar. It doesn't matter on a boat. Miller Lite's always going to be there for you, so make sure you're grabbing some this summer. Next time you're getting ready to enjoy cold ones with your crew, go to MillerLite.com/redline to find the delivery options near you. Or you could find Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories, 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
How you doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Chicago sports fans. This is Carl.
This is Dave.
Chief.
Eddie.
This is Redline Radio and All Gas No Break Chicago Sports Podcast, brought to you by Barstool Sports Chicago, brought to you by our great friends at Miller Lite. We call this an All Gas No Breaks podcast. I'll be honest, because it feels like there's a lot of breaks.
Why is there breaks?
There's just a lot going on this week. We got Kevin in town. We got John in town. We got some guys traveling. We got just like a lot of stuff. Big live show this Saturday. I'm sure some people listening are going to be out. KFC radio show.
Yeah.
Just a big week.
Mm-hmm.
Barstool River North. There's a meet and greet on Friday for happy
it's like
hour.
A happy hour, yep.
Yeah. A lot of stuff going on.
I don't feel like it is breaks. I feel like it's more gas when those guys are here. I'm feeling gassed up. It's been fun doing stuff with them. So I like when I love those two guys specifically, but I like when we have people from out of town here.
Mm-hmm. Makes the drafts better when you have that fifth chair filled.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know this Redline, but when this fifth chair, when the one next to me is filled with somebody for a draft, it just hits so much better.
It is better.
It's great.
Everything's better in person, Ed.
Are things better on the south side right now, Dave?
So we are recording this at 3:19 p.m. on Wednesday. They just got done beating the brakes off the Detroit Tigers 13-0. I'm not going to say things are better until they're comfortably in first place. I'm not talking about, they just finally tied the Twins. They're back in first place. No. I'm talking about like they're pulling away from the Twins. And the Guardians are sticking around. Detroit's dead. Kansas City's trash. It's a 3-team race right now. And the White Sox have the best collection of talent amongst those 3 teams. Now go and fucking win the division. June 15th, there's 101 games left, I want to say. They're 30 and 31, so there's 101 games left. If they don't win this division by like 5 games, I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter. But if they don't take like a 5-game lead into August, like into mid-August maybe, like you fucked up. You fucked up royally. But the good part is there's a good chance that'll happen, I think. So my tune hasn't changed at all. I'm pissed off at a lot of things regarding the White Sox, but they're finally starting to hit. They're getting healthier. Eloy and Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn had his first start on Monday. Little rusty, but that's fine to be expected. Eloy's back. Getting a little, there's a month and a half until the trade deadline. Win against all these shitbag teams you got coming up after these next 2 series, which are going to be really telling. So the White Sox just swept the Tigers. You got off day tomorrow on Thursday. Then you got a 3-game set at home against the Houston Astros, or on the road, against the Houston Astros. Then back in Chicago against the Toronto Blue Jays, who just swept them like a week or 10 days ago or so. So it'll be a good measuring stick. If they win 4 of those 6 games, we are happy. If they look like complete dog shit like they did against the Blue Jays when they played them within the last couple of weeks, then we have the same concerns. But I
know you're not doing so intentionally, but I do feel like you're bearing the lead a little bit. I think it kind of starts with your manager. No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big thing of the weekend. That's a big thing. I know they just fucking.
We were talking about this on the rundown today because the stories came out that both the Cubs and the White Sox are intentionally like state-controlled media, North Korea, Russia type shit, where they're intentionally doctoring footage to make themselves look better. And if anybody from out of Chicagoland was paying attention to the White Sox or Redline Radio, last week, Tony La Russa, he walked Trey Turner of the Los Angeles Dodgers on a 1-2 count in order to get to Max Muncy with a lefty on the mound. Of course, Max Muncy sees that lefty and he goes yard, 3-run lead. That's the ball game. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Tony La Russa not only doubled down, but he tripled down. At this point, like, I respect his...
Just dig in
more. The more we dig in, the more he digs in. I respect that a little bit, but it's like, dude, you can almost see it in real time play out. Because like one day, Lurie Garcia will be batting third, and everyone's like, "What the fuck is this idiot doing batting Lurie Garcia third?" He is the worst offensive player, probably worst player all around in all of baseball. And then the next game, because I mean Garcia has to play a little bit right now. Next game, he'll be batting ninth. You can almost see the front office being like, Tony, this is how it's going to be. Like, we tell you what to do. You just hand the shit over to the umpire, make the moves. But, like, you've lost autonomy to call how you see the game should be called. And the game has passed him by. They're going to have to win in spite of him, in spite of his dumb moves. He had a great career. I don't know why they felt it was necessary to coax him into leaving his retirement and his Hall of Fame career, but they did, and you got to live with it. It fucking sucks because they had a good thing. Everything bad that started happening with this team directly coincided with that hiring. It's
Would
like
you
bad
swap
karma.
him out for Joe Maddon right now?
That's a tough one. Probably not.
What about Ozzie?
Ozzie, 100%. That's just not going to happen.
No, I don't think any of these would happen. I'm just curious. Like
Joe Maddon, no, because I don't like the frill shit. And I don't think that would vibe with this fan base for one and this roster for another. Like that's not them.
So
that might be the Anthony Rizzo type guys, which is fine to each their own. But for the White Sox, like, fuck no. Managerial, like, as far as pulling strings, probably. But I mean, he just got fired too. So it's like, what, you're picking up the Angels trash and the Cubs trash? Like, get the fuck out of my face. Like,
do you think he'd do better? Would you hire him?
Yeah, Joe, yeah. And Ozzie, I think anybody would be better with Tony at this point. But then it's like the injuries. You know, it's like injuries, you know, uninspired baseball. How much is it the fact they started slow and it's so hard to figure out. Like, through 60 games, like, they are 30-31. I've said they can go on like a massive run. And like when that happens, then people will be like, see, Tony just, you know, he didn't press too many buttons. He didn't freak out. Like, he didn't and he just let the guys play. And
that's how it should be.
It's probably what we're going to be saying. Make no mistake about it.
They're 30-31 right now because of underperformance from Yoan Moncada.
It's fucking brutal.
I mean, the first 2 months, Abreu, a lot of people said, myself included, I'm like, all right, he's 35. He's probably cooked. He just went 4 for 5 today. Granted, it was against pitchers pitching that was position players a few times today, but he looks vintage Jose. He's walking at a better pace than he's ever walked in his life. Power's back. He looks great.
See, I think that's a huge story. I think Jose Abreu, like, turning it on, I think is a huge story.
I was going to write something on this eventually because I want to make sure the trend stays the same. But Jose Abreu has slowed down a tick, and you could almost watch him from at bat to at bat this year completely change his prototypical approach, which is an aggressive hitter. And he was never a hitter he always walked at like a 7-8% clip, which is like league average or so. You'd think for a power hitting first baseman, it was like, 12-13%. He's not that anymore. So it looks like he actively went out of his way. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to take these pitches an inch or two off the plate and hit them for a double or for a bomb anymore. I'm going to have to start taking those and taking my bases and start hitting pitch because I just don't have the bat speed or the twitch anymore. And he's just taking those pitches, and pitchers are now starting to work more into the middle. I mean, he's still Jose Abreu. He's going to shit on those balls, and that's what he's doing. He looks fucking great.
Keeping the hands close to his body. Watch some old film. Jose Abreu this year, there are some mechanical
He
changes.
looks
I saw something on. Looks
awesome
good.
right now. Vintage Abreu. Yeah. Now they're going to have decisions to make with him going into next year because he is a free agent. Roster still has a billion fucking first base DHs on it. Like, what do you do? Do you let Abreu walk? Do you?
I mean, probably, right?
Give him bench code? I don't know. But it's we'll see. I'm in the we'll see mode right now as it sits on June 15th with them being a game under 500. Heading into these next two series. Yeah. So we'll see.
That Russa hire is tough just because he's almost like impossible to hire or to fire.
You can't. No,
can't.
They're like, Rick Hahn physically, emotionally, spiritually, he cannot fire him.
You could.
It is Jerry Reinsdorf's guy.
Right. But I'm sure even Jerry doesn't want to fire him.
He can't. They'd be admitting defeat.
Exactly.
Right.
So like if they had hired literally anyone else.
John Heyman had a really good article actually in the New York Post or Time. I forget which one he works for now. But usually John Heyman's just like a shill. Mm-hmm. Front office
punching
shill.
bag. Long-time punching bag on this show.
One of them, yeah. I don't mind him that much.
Bob Nightingale won.
Bob Nightingale,
guys.
John Heyman, though, he's like, Tony La Russa, this is, make no mistake about it, this is a Tony La Russa hire, and John Heyman has direct line to Jerry Reinsdorf himself. Everybody knows that. He's like, was a Jerry Reinsdorf hire, but Jerry Reinsdorf hired him first and foremost because he thought that Tony La Russa was the guy that could bring them a World Series. It wasn't because it was his buddy and he wanted to rectify a mistake. That was all secondary for when he fired him in '86 or whatever it was. So I mean, the hire in hindsight, like he's getting worse.
Yeah,
he really is getting worse. Like just.
But don't you think if any other man, they had hired anyone else last offseason, they would have fired him at this point in the season?
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
like that
without question. Yeah, without question.
I mean, they didn't fire. What did it take for them to fire Ozzie? They held on to Robin Ventura for so long.
Yeah, but the expectations are different. Though.
One in a year and 2-3 months, like that's.
Ventura,
this
he
city,
replaced
that's
Ozzie.
way too short.
Yeah, with the injuries and stuff. A Major League, I don't know. They won the division last year. They won 97 games.
But aren't you?
Games.
Didn't you say one of the biggest problems with them is uninspired baseball? This is like.
I don't think so. It's not that they're not playing hard. It's that they have a roster that's flawed. Which I've said it. I think that a lot of the reason the roster is flawed is because of Tony La Russa. Like,
what do you mean by that?
Because he
fucking loves Lurie Garcia. He loves him. He said it as much. I know you got to take everything that managers or organizations say to the media with a grain of salt. But he's like, to me, Lurie Garcia he's not a utility guy. He's a guy that you play 5-6 days a week all over the field. And that's how he's deployed him throughout the course of his tenure, his second tenure with the White Sox. It makes no sense. And then it's turn around and give him a 3-year deal when he wasn't even going to get a major league offer from any other team. It just doesn't make sense that to me. And people are like, oh, why? Like Tony La Russa, Tony La Russa spent a decade in the Red Sox and the Diamondbacks front offices after he retired. It's not like he was out of baseball completely. He was like consultant, whatever he was. He had his hand. Like a lot of people think that he was the one that butchered the Diamondbacks. A lot of people think it was Tony La Russa because he was like whatever title he had. And it reeks of Tony La Russa and like these just weird lineups where your best hitter, Andrew Vaughn's he's going to be an all-star and he should be an all-star. Andrew Vaughn hitting 8th when Lurie Garcia is hitting 1st or 2nd. It's like, it does not make sense. So as long as you can and right now the whole lineup top to bottom, I'd say over the last probably since June started, has really started to click. AJ Pollock has been outstanding. Vaughn's been hitting all year. Robert's been not totally great, but he's been fine. He hasn't been bad. Moncada was bad until today, and then you're pulling up the rear. Danny Mendick, you got to give Danny Mendick a shout out. He has been nothing short of fan-fucking-tastic in Tim Anderson's absence in the last 2-3 weeks, whatever he's been on the DL for. Just outstanding defense. He's hitting the ball all over the field. He's hitting for power, too. He's got a couple 3 bombs in the last couple weeks. Danny Mendick deserves all the shots in the world, and as soon as Tim Anderson's back in the next few days, Danny Mendick should be starting 5-6 days a week at second base until he loses that job, if that even happens. So if this is my barometer for how serious the White Sox are about winning. as soon as Tim Anderson's activated, Harrison has to be DFA'd. Apparently they love him in the clubhouse and he's just a great presence and they don't want to get rid of him. They want to keep him around. All right, well, if that's the case, then you get Lurie Garcia, you eat that $15 million, get him the fuck out of here. Because Danny Mendick gives you your best shot at winning. He by far and away is the best defender of those three. And he's hitting by far and away the best out of those three. So it's like, if you option Danny Mendick to Charlotte, you are not trying to win right now. You're trying to hope to God that you get something out of those two players that you have signed for $5 million this year. And I don't know, we'll see. That's the theme of my White Sox attitude right now is we'll see.
Moncada, I want to get you going. And I know you're like hesitant because you want to think it'll and he, like you said, he had a good game today. But I gotta get you going.
Fucking little leaguers. But.
Yeah, we gotta get you going.
Castellani's,
don't hold back, dude. This is you're with us. You're in a podcast.
I know.
This isn't a tweet where people are gonna fucking.
Yoan Moncada has fucking sucked this year.
Mm-hmm. I saw that. What was it 3? Did you see that tweet? Someone tweeted, like batting average, on base percentage, something else. He was dead last.
He's only got like 50 or 60 plate appearances because he only came back like a month ago.
With
everybody who had played that.
No,
it was crazy.
I honestly, I don't get it. So I'm watching him play. One, I think he might still be hurt. So it was his oblique that shelved him for the first however long of the season. I've never messed up an oblique, but I can't imagine messing up your oblique, yanking it or pulling it or straining it or whatever. I can't imagine that's like a easy injury to get over because you can't do anything. You can't. You just got to let it heal.
I also feel like baseball is probably the worst sport.
Exactly, because there's so much torque in your core when you're swinging a bat or throwing a baseball repeatedly. But with him, it's weird because from the right side of the plate, he was fine. He was hitting fine. He just doesn't see a lot of left-handed pitching or as much left-handed pitching. But whenever he was up as a righty, which is historically his weaker half. You're confident that he's gonna do at least some damage. From the left side, I'm like, dude, someone tweeted me or DM'd me yesterday. They're like, do you think Moncada has a vision problem? Just like Major League. I'm like, I am honestly willing to try
anything on the table.
Anything. Like, go and get this guy's eyes checked. Like, because he just looked, and it's not like this is the same issue I have for Robert. When Robert's hot, you're like, we're watching the greatest baseball player ever because he, like, physically. He does things that 99.9% of players can't do because he's so physically gifted. But when he's struggling, he just he protects in hitters counts, meaning like he's just trying to like make contact on pitches outside the zone in like a 2-1 or 2-0, 3-1, 3-2 count, and it drives me fucking insane. I expect more out of Luis Robert. I'm like, dude, someone teach this guy to fucking swing with authority when he's in a hitter's count. Like, try to hit a home run, try to kill the ball. Moncada does the exact same thing, but he does it every single at-bat. Every single pitch, every single swing. It'll be a 2-0 count. He just waves at the ball, like praying to make contact, and it'll either be weak contact or it'll swing through it. Today was a little different. Granted, I wasn't watching too closely because we were recording other shit, but he did turn on a home run from the left side, so hopefully that's a sign of things to come. But I don't know. Like, it's a mystery to me. It's a mystery, and they need, like, if Yoan Moncada, Abreu, and Grandal aren't performing at least near their peaks, the team's not doing shit. So, I mean, Grandal started hitting really well within the last week or so. Then, of course, he gets shelved. He's fine, though. Abreu's been hot for a while now. He's normal. And then Moncada hopefully uses this 5-hit game, I think it was today, to kind of pole vault himself into future success because they really need him. If he's not, and not to mention, he starts to get really expensive. He makes $20 million next year and $25 million the year after that. So
yeah,
if he's like the worst player in baseball, I mean, on a Jerry Reinsdorf owned team, that's a lot of dead money.
It's a problem.
You know, that's a problem. So they really, really need him to start hitting, and hopefully today was the start of it. So we will see.
What do you think now that you're paying more of attention from like a national level? Like, I'm sure people have been talking about that, right?
Yeah, I think the Twins just ran through 12. They're playing their 12th hardest game, like, in a row, and their opening schedule is pretty easy. So if you're a White Sox fan, you're like, well, obviously we got to catch the Twins. You have your eye on the Guardians. and I got a little take on them, but the Twins primarily, obviously, they're in first place. They just went through their hardest part of the schedule. It won't get hard again until I think it's August or later July. And so they're 6-5 through this 12-game stretch. If you're a White Sox fan, you're going into it oh, please, come on, Twins, slow down. Byron Buxton might be the most impactful player.
He was complete and total dog shit this year until the last week or so.
He had this year?
Yeah, he was hitting
Byron Buxton is
Buxton's hitting 233, 317. He was under 200 a week ago.
Yeah, what's his slugging?
Slugging 585.
Yeah, astronomically high slugging percentage. His isolated power is probably top of the league, meaning when he's hitting, it's going for extra bases. And he's made an impact on that team that I think is going to keep lingering throughout the season. So if you're a White Sox fan, you want to cheer against the Twins. It's just they're finishing up a 2-week stretch where this was a good time to cheer against them and hope that they stumbled a little bit. They're just solid. If you go look at the Twins lineup, there aren't a lot of weaknesses and holes where you're going to see huge slumps. At least they have played like that so far. The other thing with Moncada, it's tough because third base, you need production. If you look at the AL Central, your third baseman at the very worst is a young guy they're trying to develop. Moncada has the ability to be an MVP. It's not like you're trying to play this guy and figure out what he can be. You know what he can be. So you're running a third baseman out there and you're getting such below average production from a position you should be driving in runs. I mean, fuck the Cubs. The Cubs literally got rid of Chris Bryant, went out and found Patrick Wisdom, which isn't to say that's the expectation for the White Sox. What I'm saying is third base is a position you get offense from. Mm-hmm. Third base is not a position we have lockdown defense at third base. Third base is better play fucking good defense.
That's catcher and shortstop, maybe. Yes. Maybe center field.
So those problems with Moncada are exasperated because he's playing a position where they need the offense. It's not you can hang your hat and be if Tim Anderson showed up one year and hit 275 but still played great defense and was himself around the field, you could work away. You'd be he's still, if Moncada's not going to play at the top of his level, you're fucked. And then it's frustrating. He's owed $24 million next year, $25 million the year after that. So hopefully it is just an oblique thing.
I think Dave said it well there too, where it's just those three in the lineup. That's a 30-year lineup. You need those three guys to perform. Mm-hmm.
The other big three highest paid players, three highest expectation as far as players are concerned. Abreu had a bad 4 or 5 weeks to start the year, but Abreu, he has got, and I say this every year, and I fucking hate that I do it every year, but he's a notorious slow starter, and every year that he starts, so I'm this is it. Pito's done. Career's over. And then he just goes on a fucking tear, and he's on a fucking tear right now. And I'm sure they're going to give him that 1 year friendly whatever deal. And next year it's going to be the same thing. The year after that it's going to be the same thing. He's earned that right to be bad for a whole year before it's all right, now he's cooked.
It's a shitty feeling. 1 year the car's just not going to start again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here's the biggest take I have, or I would say the juiciest thing I have about the White Sox I think nobody's talking about. You bring up the White Sox for the last fucking 15, 20 years. And there's one steady, almost nearly steady thing, I should say. People are going to kill me and say, yo, you forgot about this year or this year. But generally speaking, where the White Sox have dominated the competition is getting guys tournament of relievers. Don Cooper could take anybody in tournament of reliever. Now there's stuff about Don Cooper being a good fit for modern pitching and Ethan Katz, that's a name. Remember how we talk a lot about Ethan Katz. White Sox Twitter loves Ethan Katz. That's a name. He's probably one of the more celebrated hitting or pitching coaches in Major League Baseball by their own fan base. We got Ethan Katz. Where's the bullpen at? Where are the guys where you're oh, I haven't heard. The White Sox used to just run guys out and they're oh, you never heard of this guy, but they found him. Coop's working on a slider.
That turned into a meme after a while. The Coop will fix him shit. That was always said with very facetiously. Hendricks has been good. Graveman's been good. Joe Kelly hasn't pitched at all. The rest of the guys,
those are signings. I'm saying the guys that come up where it's oh, we got this guy in the Rule 5 draft.
They used to be an awesome fine guy organization. They haven't been as much the last couple of years. One of the guys they found was the dude they traded to the Cubs in the Kimbrel trade, but he got Tommy John. What
Cody Hoyer.
Cody Hoyer. Matt Foster's been pretty decent this year, but he's a low leverage 6th inning guy, and he's forced into 8th inning roles right now because of all the injuries. Speaking of which, Hendricks down for at least 3 weeks, which Go fucking figure. As soon as someone gets healthy and someone else is getting hurt.
Do you guys have trade capital?
Yeah, a little bit.
Little though, right?
I mean, Colson Montgomery, their first round pick last year, is absolutely fucking killing the ball.
Trade that kid.
No, you don't want to trade him. Exactly. He's going to be like Corey Seager maybe. But
like there's no, I know it's not Mick or
really.
Adolfo, but there's no Mick or Adolfo's walking around being like, oh, we could package these.
No, not really. Their farm is pretty barren.
Do you think they're hesitant to trade for a second baseman or other person after last year?
They shouldn't be. They should.
Good answer.
But I mean, if you want to do that, make sure it's the right fucking guy. And if you don't have the trade capital to do that, then you should have fucking opened your goddamn checkbook and went and did that instead of hopefully we got Josh Harrison. He's 35 years old. Hopefully he's got something left in the tank. Oh no. Guess what we're doing? We're talking about how we're gonna DFA him in a fucking week when Anderson's back. They're the kings of that. How many fucking times over the years do they try to catch lightning in a bottle with all these old, relatively expensive compared to what the production they bring over the hill players? Like it has happened for decades, going back to like Ken Griffey Jr., who actually was whatever. He had a big play in the blackout game. Manny Ramirez, Jose Canseco, fucking
Kenny Lofton,
Juan Pierre Rollins,
Jimmy Rollins.
That
it's
one's
like,
probably the worst one.
Why you could add up how much money they've wasted on these guys that they just end up being forced to cut bait with because they are so cooked that you could probably afford Bryce Harper. And there's your it drives me insane. And they did it again this year.
Justin Morneau, who like didn't have a back at that point. Like
Omar
his back.
Vizquel?
Omar Vizquel. Omar had a cup of coffee. You guys want to keep going?
This is crazy.
Bobby Alomar played for the White Sox too while we're up the middle.
And Sandy, right?
Yeah. Sandy played.
Yeah. It's almost poetic.
Charles Johnson too for doing late 90s All-Star catchers.
Dave, it's almost poetic that they have this young fucking roster.
Shaking his head.
They have this young roster and then it's just they're now the managers.
But no, we talk about Brian Billick on here. He sent me a tweet when we were recording Dog Walk earlier. I'm not going to go and dig it up, but it was basically it was on April 12th. He tweeted this. He goes, Josh Harrison and Lurie Garcia making $10.5 million this year is about the worst allocation of resources you could have when you're on a Jerry Reinsdorf team, when you have Danny Mendick, Yolbert Sanchez, and Rami Gonzalez, and all these guys, and this Lennon Sosa dude who's fucking everybody wants on the major league team right now because he's just killing the ball, and he's only like 23 and has all these tools, and he's all tooled up and everything. It's like, it just makes no sense. And then Danny Mendick gets his chance because of injury, because they had to play him, and he looks awesome. And he is making $750,000 this year, I think it is. It's like, what are you idiots doing? Stop this shit, because it hasn't worked for 2 decades. Like, it should have been an open competition. Use that $10 million to go pay a starting pitcher or fucking right field, or second base, something. Fill in real holes. Fill in real holes instead of just praying and wasting money that way if you're going to operate under a budget. And
have you at all, like, and sorry to bring this back around to Tony, but have you at all, like, thought, well, in this scenario, like, it was fine to walk him in that situation?
No.
Okay.
Do you know what the situation was?
Max Muncy's hitting like 150 on the year. He's tough against lefties. I mean, he's not a good matchup against lefties. It's just stupid. Trey Turner's like an MVP candidate. Not candidate, but MVP caliber player.
He would have walked him.
He should have walked him on the first pitch, Dave, is my point.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I know.
That's fine. No one would have said a word if he walked him to get to Max Muncy, but it was a 1-2 count.
Yeah, it wasn't a stupid decision. It was he forgot to walk him. It's not where Tony was like, I think it's a good idea to walk him on 1-2. Tony was like, we got to walk Turner so we can get to Muncy. And then, like, he caught a fart and tied his shoe and looked up and was like, how many pitches have been through? He's up already? And then just
at that point,
just
then
like,
fuck it. Hitting with 2 strikes is like the most difficult thing to do in all sports. Because the pitcher has so many options, pitch options, so many location options, and you have to guess right on both of those. And even then, you're not going to put a full swing on it most of the time because you're just trying to make contact to put the ball in play. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Zero logical reason.
Why'd you wait till now to get this mad?
outside, and I wanted to ask him this. Outside of when Kevin Cash,
I was just trying to see
earlier. Now
I was just trying to see if there was anything that, like, you know what I mean, where everyone's like, that's a sailboat.
And
you know what I mean?
If he would have just said, you know what, and granted, I don't remember the swings that Trey Turner was putting on the ball prior to the walk.
I mean,
but if he had like 2 or 3 hacks from hell that he just like fouled straight back. And it was like, all right, dude, we got, I think it was Tanner Banks. I forget if it was Banks or Sousa pitching. Sousa. So we got Sousa pitching. And I don't trust him to hit a corner or an edge. He's going to put one over the plate and Turner's going to fucking hit one to the moon. We got to walk him right now and just get lefty. Still stupid, but I'd be like, I can kind of see the reasoning. But Tony's trying to throw out like all these, do you know what Max Muncy's hitting with 2 strikes? It's like, Max Muncy didn't have 2 strikes. Trey Turner had 2 strikes, you fucking idiot. Like, we all in the age of the internet have every bit as much access to information as you do.
It's tough.
So he's trying to throw out all these bullshit fucking stats, and it's like, what are you talking about? The way he said it, it almost sounded like he thought that the count was going to transfer, the 1-2 count before the intentional walk was going to transfer to Max Muncy. He's like, do you know what Max Muncy's sitting with 2 strikes? It's like, Max Muncy didn't have 2 strikes on him.
Yeah.
The guy before him had 2 strikes on him. So what are you talking about?
It's crazy
it's so dumb. That said, 3 wins in a row. A drubbing today. It was the first time they absolutely just fucking beat the shit out of someone all year. And it felt good. But we'll see.
Is this quote from Lance Lynn real?
Yeah. Question though first.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's save that quote. We're gonna get to the quote. We're deep White Sox. It only makes sense to give a shout out to our friends over at Section 108. Love those guys. Let's also give a shout out to our good friend Jim Graziano.
Oh yeah, it's summer. You need to, a nice sandwich in the summer is beautiful. It really is. So is a nice beef sandwich. They got that late night window, 901 West Randolph. If you're out in the West Loop, or even if you're, out wherever, take an Uber, go up to that walk-up window, Thursday through Saturday. It's open.
I'll be there tomorrow
1.
night with Roan, taking Roan there.
It's absolutely beautiful. Or tasterealchicago.com. Get these beef kits. You see them on the table if you're watching on YouTube. Super awesome way to make a beef, and it's a great thing to do.
And with the 4th of July coming up, a little inside source, you could call it Scoop City, has told me to keep an eye out for a big sale on the beef kits.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'm not going to divulge my source.
Okay.
But
I wonder who it could be, Dave. But don't divulge it.
I'm not going to divulge it.
Never divulge it.
That's like good journalism right there. You don't give up your sources.
That's very good.
That puts people at risk, Ed.
Yeah.
Not that you know anything about that with your state-controlled media, you fucking communist
Go
freak.
support Jim. Go check out. Yeah, go support Jim, guys.
During a JP ad, you're going to do that to me?
Especially you guys that are if you're home from college, making your trips in the summer. They're close. Just work around the hours. So
Dude, get some muffaletta.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love
Shit's
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Actually,
You're going tomorrow.
Summer
I'm going
barbecues.
tomorrow, and I can because I'm out.
So-
Muffaletta. I was looking for it for eggs this morning.
All right. So speaking of sources, what's the source on this Lance Lynn quote, Ed?
Oh, do you want?
I mean, it's a non-story.
With Joel McEwing?
Yeah, it's
Did you see the quote though?
the steak quote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was unbelievable.
it was
Read
off
it.
the cuff like that. That was good.
He said Lance Lynn. He got into it with Joe McEwing in the dugout. Lance Lynn said he was trying to get me going. He kept telling me filet is better than ribeye. I'm more of a ribeye and potatoes guy. He's a filet and like Caesar salad guy. I told him he was wrong, and he went back to coaching third.
So I think that's a little jab.
Well,
Guy like if a Lance Lynn says you're a filet guy, that ain't no
pussy.
burying something. He's actually going to mean he just called Joe McEwing a huge fucking pussy.
are you guys? Where are you? Let's go around the room. What cut are we?
I mean,
Cut
I keep
and
going
cook.
back and forth, dude. I want to be a ribeye guy, but it's like too much. I mean, gun to my fucking head, and I don't want to hear Dave come over the top with some fucking tomahawk porterhouse double dip. One
I'm
cut,
porterhouse.
Dave. No, Dave, you get one cut. I know it's a cut, but I'm saying like I'm taking a strip.
New York strip.
I'm taking the strip.
Okay, Chief.
Oh, I'm ribeye, bone-in ribeye. I'm actually doing that tonight. I went over to Paulina Meat Market. I got a new grill, and I'm gonna do but it's more of a smoker. So you're going to do the reverse sear. You cook it first, then you throw it on the cast iron, sear the bad boy. It's going to be fucking awesome.
Shout out Dan, George, Paul, and Jimmy.
And what are you, Dave? Porterhouse?
I'm porterhouse medium rare, yeah.
I'm a filet. It makes sense that all four of us are different steaks.
Oh my God. That's a good, can we get that? I want that on a please graphic or something.
Filet's fine. It's excellent. It's just
what a good social question. What cut of
meat.
steak are you?
So I started as a filet guy, then I was trying to get out of it. I was starting to become unhappy with the cut. I tried a bunch of different ones, and then I came back home.
They're all awesome.
Yeah, they're all great. I have to have bone in though. If I'm like at a steakhouse, I bone in 100% of the time.
So
no matter what, a strip, porterhouse, or
really,
or bone and ribeye.
Sometimes the bone bothers me because
it adds that flavor though.
It does, but other times it's like you're cutting around it. I feel like sometimes you get more meat if the bone is removed. That could just be a thing in my head.
Didn't Shane tell you that tomahawks are like kind of a scam? Like they're basically charging. They're charging more for
a porterhouse is a thicker cut bone-in ribeye.
Yeah.
So it's like 3-4 inches thick, and then they don't remove the bone, so it's like it looks cool. But
it's like buying the iPhone. I mean, like, of course you can get a better cut, or I'm sure the Android's faster, but like you get the tomahawks, you could like have the picture of the tomahawk. Like I'm making the tomahawk. Maybe not the iPhone's a good analogy, but you understand what I'm saying. It's part of the experience.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, I do that when I'm in a previous life when I'm charging to somebody else. So if like the company's picking up dinner, then I'm getting the tomahawk.
That doesn't apply anymore here.
I hated those guys. so that's how I would do it. If I could, because they would cheap out on so many things. So if I had a client dinner, I would go heavy on the things that I knew that they had to pay for.
That's so funny to me that we all had a different cut.
I moved over to strip once they started making more steaks, just because there's like more consistency in the quality, and like a good strip and cutting it and cooking it right with the reverse sear. I've grown into a strip. I was not. I would have put strip last if you asked me a couple of years ago.
See, I disagree with that you get more consistent. I feel like ribeye is probably, or even a filet, if you're buying them, is probably the most consistent, because sometimes you get like those chunks where you have that slab of fat on a strip where it's just like, it's too much. You just can't chew.
Doesn't a ribeye have a lot of fat too?
But it's like
a ton of fat.
But it's edible.
I like fat. I like the grizzle.
But
a lot of it is.
See, I feel like I
end up just like trimming a ribeye so much, and then I end up saying goodbye to it.
You like the fat, huh? What about on a prime rib?
A little bit.
The prime rib fat disgusts me.
I was thinking about doing a rib roast soon.
Buddy who just gnaws on it like a dog.
It's got so much flavor.
Does he dip or does he sprinkle?
He just gnaws on it like he's a puppy. Or a greyhound.
You notice how he just
French
looks
fries.
sickened at the word puppy.
What? Do you eat everything your dog eats, Dave?
Not everything. Well, a lot of what my dog eats.
Hey, did you ever sneak a treat?
No.
Never?
Say you're out of 3 chi and Ace has got some CBD.
I got
in the
dared
cabinet.
to eat a dog treat, which is like the little red box dog treat.
Bone, yeah.
Yeah, the little fake cracker bone. It had zero taste.
Really? Not even
really
like
nothing.
a little graham cracker hint?
Not really nothing, yeah.
Interesting.
It wasn't like, it didn't make me throw up or anything, but it wasn't, it just was kind of there. I would liken it to
Texture's tough.
Cheerios. Like really grainy, it dried out in my mouth really badly. Just like a mouthful of Cheerios, but not like
Cheerios.
with any.
Is that designed
sweetening.
that way because dogs slobber a lot?
I don't know. Maybe. That'd be actually a good.
You like that? Brain's
Well, I mean,
thinking.
you host a podcast called The Dog Walk. I would hope that you could ask some good dog-related questions in. It's a good question.
Yeah. I think I've had some dog people on before.
Chaps.
Dog walkers?
I actually don't know if I have had a dog walker on.
Nope, not that dog walker.
Oh, I had a dog walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
J Bones. Interesting.
Yeah.
I might go to a steak soon.
Good meat.
I went to
roundup.
cut the other night.
Oh, did you?
Hey, speaking of meat, I'll be in Omaha. They have great meat out there. It's one of the things, like you go in anywhere and it's priced because it's just right there.
Bro, that's like the I don't know if we should talk about it or not, but the steak company out of Omaha, they must make a killing, huh?
It's great branding.
Yeah.
I mean, who else is doing what they're doing?
I've gotten them before. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I know other people are doing what they're doing, but they're like, you know them for.
Like they carved out that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was the first time I got fucking burned by dry ice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, open up one. My dad got one from like a work thing.
I do think that they're starting to get a few companies in their rearview mirror like catching up to them.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they're still the
They were the
kings.
standard bearer, yeah.
Not saying taste. I'm just saying like they're known the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
First time, yes, you heard me. Second time, I tried to steal an ice cream from an ice cream man.
You did?
The bicycle one. Yeah.
How old
Bicycle
were you?
guy. I was in like, I don't know, 6th grade.
You were a rambunctious child.
Did you ever hear the story
Ice cream
how
man was an asshole. He fucking punched my buddy's mom in the face.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
all right, well,
What
maybe
if-
he deserved
Name was
it.
Valentine. Guy was fucking not allowed to Hiawatha Park for the rest of the fucking summer.
Damn.
Hey, Tom, did you ever hear the story of how Ed shit in the urinal in high school?
No.
As a
Grammar school, 7th grade.
okay, 7th grade. Still old enough to
Messed up, Eddie.
Stealing ice cream, shitting in urinals.
It was a prank.
How'd that prank go? Or the janitor had to clean out your shit out of the urinal?
I cleaned it up. I've told this story. See, he can't even tell. He tries to frame me, and he just gets everything wrong, and he just folds the creases like shit.
pot me kettle.
At least I deliberately do it wrong.
I
You
deliberately
just-
did it wrong right there. You don't think I did?
No.
I knew the story.
No.
I've heard it 1,000 times. Of course, I'm going to make it so you sound even
Have
worse.
I told that story 1,000 times?
Enough.
Yeah, I've heard you tell it a few times, yeah.
Are you talking about the time you saw OJ and took a shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't take a shit, but I was in Islamorado, Florida. We're at this tiki bar with like palm fronds on the
Don't do
roof.
it, Dave.
And OJ Simpson walked in with his little
You
crew
my
singing.
brown
You
eyed
my
girl.
brown eye. My dad and his buddy were all shit wasted.
Was that before or after he started an airplane?
Was it Airplane?
It wasn't, but
It
never
was.
mind.
It was. Fucking what movie was
I
it?
think it was Airplane.
That was.
Anyways.
That
Naked
was.
Gun.
No, it was Naked Gun in another one. He was. He
Oh,
was only.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar
It
was
was
in.
Kareem
Yeah.
Abdul-Jabbar in Airplane.
Yeah.
Naked Gun. He was only in for like a minute. What was the other one?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
There was another one. Maybe it was Naked Gun I was thinking of, but whatever. Nevertheless, my dad shook his hand and the moms all freaked out at their husbands.
Okay.
All right.
There
All
was-
this steak talk's got me thinking about Skrill. Have you guys recently been on a game? I know you got the Hot Ice Show. What do you got? What's the hit parade?
Yeah, hit parade sharp, guys. Get some action, and Skrill helps because I'm as someone who's gambling and managing my portfolio and stuff. I take advantage of this tool, the functionality. You introduced it to me.
Yes, I did. Skrill is the best digital wallet for gamblers because it was built for gamblers. Sophisticated gamblers use it to manage their bankroll. Whether they are playing games like poker or betting on their favorite sports, they manage their bankroll using the wallet, which allows them to pay instantly and securely its payments without limits, basically. You can access your bankroll with instant deposits and withdrawals and also draw the cash using your prepaid card. This gives you access to your bankroll wherever you are in the world in any currency. Skrill thinks about your security relentlessly so you don't have to share your private financial details needlessly or repeatedly. Skrill is the best digital wallet for sports bettors. Create your free account at skrill.com/barstool. That's skrill.com/barstool, skrill.com/barstool. We always say gamble responsibly. You should.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a reason why, like, obviously we have to say it because regulators make us, but you should say it anyways because you need to gamble responsibly.
Because you should.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's very wise to do so. Skrill is a way to help you do that.
You
Yeah,
never
got like
want
a
to.
decade of personal endorsements.
Yes,
Yeah.
So.
exactly.
You never want to be in a place where gambling becomes not fun.
Yes.
You know,
Nope.
like, and where you're adding like real life stress because you want to bet on the Warriors, whatever. So, but
Yeah,
gamble,
playing the Hawaii game because I'm.
yeah, gamble responsibly.
Exactly.
What else you got, Ed?
I don't know. We talked a lot about the White Sox. Anything about the Chicago Cubs?
I heard they're getting killed right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's worth it's worth a ton of time. It's worth a little bit of time. It's however much you want to go. I feel bad for like Cubs fans that were optimistic to start the season because, as you're starting to see, like they're just not, they can play competitive. They were going into the they played 3 games against the Cardinals. This is like, they're on an 8-game losing streak, but it originated on a Saturday night. They had taken 2 out of 3 to start a 5-game series against the Cardinals. They had won like 14 of their last, they're 14 and 13 over the last 27, 16 and 15 over the last 31, something like that. They drop 8 in a row, and you just see it just completely unravel. That doesn't hurt. And I don't suppose, like, God, this isn't a silver lining. What's the right word for it? Fucking Baez is trash.
Yep.
Chris Bryant hasn't played that well. You know, Rockies aren't doing shit, obviously. You know, Rizzo's done well in a superstar lineup with the shortest right. Like, I have to take away from his numbers. He's done well, and the Yankees are awesome, and I'm sure he's going to end up making more money than he did if he stayed here in Chicago or whatever. Like, that looks how it seems. But if they kept these guys, it would be so much worse. And now we're back to the Wilson Contreras stuff, and I haven't backed down from the not extending trade him. He's having the second best season from any catcher in the last 10 years. The other guy was Buster Posey, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer. So you're literally talking about, like, in the last 20 years, last 10 years, like a historic start to the season for a guy who should be traded to teams that are contenders. The Astros, Mets need catching. Like, there's plays here and people to extend him. Ugh.
He's just
such
lovable.
It's such a gap, though, man.
I know. But he's like, I understand it. It's like he's like a connection to the past that was enjoyable, and he's still very lovable. So I can understand, like, the emotional connection, but it's just.
If they were good, I'd say give them all the money in the world. Like, if they were still competing with the Brewers and the Cardinals, and you're like, yeah, dude, why would you get rid of this guy? Finding a good catcher is so hard. We were talking about third base. Like, dude, you can find. I brought up Patrick Wisdom's been great since he got regular playing time, but, like, who saw that coming? That's just an example of how, you know, you can find guys that can hit, and you can cover up some defense. You can't find somebody who can come and catch 140 games and put up a 140 OPS plus.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's 30.
Yeah. So, like, they sign him, they extend him, and then 2 years from now they're 2 games over 500 at the All-Star break, and he's fucking caught 350 games on this deal. And you're like, oh, we're going to be good. And then he starts to slow down. And you're like, what's your big weakness? It's like catching, and we pay him $24 million a year. That's what would happen.
Yep.
So if you're reading Jed's brain, you think there's no way.
If I'm reading Jed's brain, I'm going back to like 2018. And they're seeing Addison, they're seeing all the writing is on the wall. They're like, the pitching's not going to be there. The farm system's trash. They know what the free agency classes are. They know what their payroll is going to be. They saw these problems coming. They had to have seen these problems coming miles away. And the more that I hear and learn, and the more you talk to people and stuff, they had to know in 2017 too that core wasn't going to be like a core. Like the stuff that Chris Bryant and guys want to like play or be around him. There is an element of truth to like, oh, okay, KB does his own thing. There is an element of truth to like Rizzo felt like he wasn't getting paid enough, and that rubs. There's an element of truth to a lot of the stuff out there. So if it's just too easy to go back and be like, oh man, I can't believe they didn't keep it. So the longer this goes on, the more I'm ready to let go. And the more I'm like, holy fuck, 2015, 16, 17 was just crazy. I wish I enjoyed it more at the time. As opposed to thinking about like, man, well then we got to do this so that we can. It's just like, I should have just shut the fuck up and enjoyed it.
It's funny you say that too. You bring up the 3 players, obviously. And then like we talked about Maddon earlier. He's another example of like, hey, they were right on that too. Is there anything, obviously from a opposite White Sox perspective, but like what do you think happened to him?
He had no idea it was coming. Like the story goes, right? He gets the Mohawk.
Yeah.
But which is a bigger story because it's kind of like funny and cheeky, like, oh man, he got a Mohawk, then got fired. But if you think about like the human element of Joe Maddon, like going into that meeting with Art Moreno and be like, what do you mean I'm getting fired? Like that is whether you're a manager getting paid millions or you're working at Burger King or you're like whatever, it doesn't matter. Losing your job and having it taken from you when you did not see it coming is obviously a terrible feeling.
Horrible.
Makes sense for the Angels to do it though.
Yeah.
Because you have generational players in Trout and Ohtani. You have one of the best third basemen in his generation in Rendon. You've got these upcoming like position players that are like really clicking, Walsh and fucking Marsh and Taylor Ward, and like there's players that are clicking into this where you're not going to have to dip in a free agency. Like they have a good core, and the problem with Joe is he comes in, he runs the team like it's his family. Like he runs like a college football program. He is the top fucking dog. It all flows through him. The bullpen catcher is like, hey, I don't want to play golf on the road trip. Joe's like, I don't bring your clubs. Like when we went out and played golf, it wasn't like we have a golf trip. It's like we go and play golf with Joe when he's on the road. What if you don't want to golf? talking to Tim Bussey, he's like, what do you mean? If I don't want to golf, he's like, I don't want to golf. I'm on every fucking golf trip, man. We're on a bus out to Sugar Grove, Illinois. They have a game that night, but Joe wanted to play golf. So there's 8 coaches, bullpen catcher. Now their guys want to golf, right? But there's times you don't. And I'm just using this as a small example because if it happens on a golf course, you think it happens with dinner, lunch, think it happens with off days. So I think there's this, when it works, it's great. You know, when it's great, it's going because he's in charge. He takes responsibility. He's got everything going. Petting zoo, show up late. I don't give a fuck. I'll be in front of the media. I'll wear it. Don't you worry about it. But that shit fucking runs quick if you're
struggling.
Yep.
Sad. So I thank you for letting me get that. Joe is a very important part to Cubs. You know, I said that when he got fired, it was like, you can't be like, huh, you know, or like, you should feel for that guy. He's a fucking good dude. Mm-hmm. But tough guy. I mean, he'll wear out his welcome anywhere. There's no place. I mean, he wore out his welcome with the Rays.
Yeah. Will he get another job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old is he now? 70?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
68.
he'll be in the booth this October. I think he'll probably enjoy some time for 2 months, play some. He'll get bored. He's so bored. Like he'll be
For
so.
being
He's one of
such a
those
free
be bored
spirit,
guys, yeah.
like it's crazy to me.
Now let me ask you guys this: do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
No.
Yeah,
He won 1 World Series.
with the Chicago Cubs.
So what?
I think that
You
matters.
could have won a World Series managing that team. He almost blew that World Series for him.
Built the Rays.
He didn't build the Rays. Fucking Kyle Bloom built the Rays.
I don't do Hall of Famer talk really. Like I think, especially baseball, where nothing makes sense. But gun to head with no real research, just
No,
knowing that he won
he's
with
not
the
That's what
Cubs.
I'm interested in. I'm
Knowing
not
that he
interested
won
in
the
you
Cubs.
coming back and saying, "Hey, I looked at this."
As
and that.
as a very casual baseball fan the last 10 years, yeah.
He's probably top. I doubt he's top 100 in all-time wins. I don't know. It might be top 50. I have no idea. But, like, if I look back 20, 30, 40 years from now and I'm like, who are the best managers of that time? I'm thinking guys like Tito Francona.
For sure.
And Dusty
sure.
Baker. Even though Dusty, I'm
Well,
not the
come on.
biggest fan of. Bruce Bochy, I'm not thinking Joe Maddon. Not in any way. And that's not because he won a World Series with the Cubs and I don't like the Cubs. It's because, I mean, it was a pretty quick shelf life. It was, what, 8-9 years?
He had a good decade though. The
Joe Maddon
2010s.
is 32nd in all-time wins.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
His win percentage has got to be pretty high too.
Well, we can look that up too.
I think it's interesting the knee jerk. Like if you don't have to know a ton. I think if the Hall of Fame was based on building a brand for yourself, Joe Maddon's a first ballot.
Yeah, like here also too. I like notoriety and shit to me matters.
Yeah,
I know
because the
it doesn't
voters
to
I mean,
those
he's gonna
guys,
get-
yeah.
it's a vote.
But 2010 to 20, like he was that decade. He was
the manager of the best teams, a couple of the best teams in baseball, yeah.
yeah, but he was also like if you said like
If you
name
don't have the
managers.
horses, you don't manage well.
I get it, and you also don't value the manager as much as
Not really.
other people though.
I think there are 2 or 3 really good managers in baseball, 2 or 3 really bad ones, including Tony La Russa, and the rest are all basically the same. If the White Sox today, how much managing did Tony La Russa do in that game? They won 13-0, 6, whatever the score was. He probably sat in the dugout and was like, all right, you're not calling bunts on, you're not calling hit and runs, you're not making pitching changes. The better
You can't
team
use
is
a 13-0 win to like.
That's exactly what I'm doing though. If the better your team is, game to game to game to game,
The less you have to do.
the less you have to manage. So like I don't think the 2016 Cubs were a product of Joe Maddon. I think he was a product of the 2016 Cubs, including almost fucking blowing that game 7 when he pitched Chapman for like 12 innings.
Yeah, remember
If he would have been the new Bartman if they would have lost that game.
Yeah,
There's
remember,
some big egos in those clubhouses.
remember the
course.
but remember like that to Dave's point, like how cash that Cubs run line was that year. You just like automatic Cubs -1.5, and you were just raking in money.
Oh, dude.
Like they were
The
killing
month of
everybody.
April.
Yeah.
The month of April, I think they outscored opponents by like 65, 70 runs or something.
Yep.
Sad stuff for Joe Maddon. Sad stuff for the North Side.
Are you salivating over the package that the Cubs can seemingly get for Contreras?
Well, if they do business with the Mets, yes. Like we got Pete Crow Armstrong. We got Pete Crow for Javi Baez. Javi Baez was such, and they already had Francisco Lindor. Like, they have no catching, and they're good enough to win the World Series. The proposition last year was like, hey, you have Javi, you can go to the playoffs, he'll carry you and be a spark plug. They're selling Wilson Contreras, being like, look, the only thing that's holding you back from being clear cut the best team in baseball is a good catcher, and we actually have, like, he's about as good as anybody's played the last 10 years. Interested? Steve Cohen? And they say, Steve goes, make the deal. Who's their GM? What's his name?
Brody Van Wagenen.
Yes.
No, it's not.
It's not.
But
That
I
used to
just
be
know
that
that
guy.
because I used to love when Frank the Tank used to tweet.
It's
about
not
it.
Omar Minaya, but
It's not him either.
the GM will come in and say,
It's not the pervert either.
It's,
Steve, we can't do this deal. These guys, this is important. And Steve Cohen's going to be like, dude, I don't make that fucking deal right this instant. And so the Cubs, hopefully Jed's smart. I mean, of course he's smart enough. Hopefully the buttons are played
What about this
appropriately.
Francisco Alvarez cat they have that's knocking on the door? That's the 13th best prospect in
So
baseball.
he might come up in August, but the nice thing is you're not telling him trade for Contreras and keep him around for 10 years. You're literally just saying, hey,
He's a free agent after this year?
Yeah. They do not
Yeah, you have to trade him. You have to trade him.
The Mets,
I thought they had another year with him.
they don't have, like, they didn't go out, like, they've been hanging on to James McCann because of this prospect. Or my understanding is you don't want to make a long-term commitment to a catcher. So Wilson Contreras fits in well with them. And then the Astros, I don't want to do business with the Astros. The Astros will just give you some fucking AA reliever that'll pitch in 51 games a year for 6 years who's got like a funky cutter. You're not going to get anything that's like a consistent daily. The Astros are too smart.
So we need the Mets. Come on in, Steve Cohen. Come on in.
I would like to do business with Clem.
That'd be great. I mean, it'd be like he'd be electric in the postseason for them this year. So it'd be great.
Yeah, I'd like to see him, Lindor. Although, to be fair, I don't think like that would be a blow to their pitching staff to have to throw to him. If you've been throwing to James McCann, then you got to go throw to Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, can't do it.
Scherzer, you're going to give Scherzer like 11 starts to get on the same page with Wilson Contreras. Several of those are going to go very poorly on that front.
Yeah.
There will be several of those starts where Scherzer's fucking brooding afterwards but won't say anything to anybody. It's like, why is Max mad? It's like, how many fucking times do I got to shake change? Or
Frank the Tank will be so mad.
Frank the Tank will hate Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So,
What kind of clubs you been hitting this summer on the golf
you know
course?
what, dude? I honestly made a transition this year, and it's been so rewarding. I can't thank Taylormade enough for being a good partner to us. Really just load me up. And I've been trying to create more space, drop the club more on the downswing, swing more from the outside, swing in. And Taylormade, honestly, like you have all these swing thoughts, and then you stand over a ball and you're holding a Taylormade, and you're like, it doesn't matter. I'm holding a Taylormade.
The stability of the Spider GT putter is unmatched.
Rolling putts, Ed. What's your favorite part of the Spider GT putter? Like, how do you?
I just love the stability. Like I was kind of all over the place. I golfed in a golf outing this past weekend, and my driver was like the best it's ever been. And
Yeah.
I know Chief would be surprised to hear that. but
I got
it
a
was.
text
No,
from Dan.
Kevin Deneen fixed you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm actually not surprised. You combine Kevin Deneen and Taylormade, you're going to be on the tour before you know it.
It's my golf course.
Out of athletes, who do you think are the best golfers?
Whoever uses Taylormade.
Whoever uses Taylormade,
Yeah.
I agree.
That's obviously a given, but I would say either baseball or hockey, right?
I have no idea.
Used to that.
I don't think basketball.
So yeah, it sets a new standard in performance. What makes it even better is that you can make it your own with My Spider GT. Choose from hundreds of color combinations so you can build the perfect putter to support your favorite school or team. That's pretty sweet. Go do that. Like I said, I just used the TaylorMade clubs this past weekend at a golf outing, and I really enjoyed them. So head to barstoolsports.com/TaylorMade and shop Spider GT to create your own. Use the promo code Barstool at checkout for free shipping. Nice deal.
Notre Dame
That's
going to the College World
unbelievable.
Series.
Yeah.
They are.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
What's up with this DeBrincat rumors?
I mean, it's days are getting dark, guys. So I think it's the
Or
absolute.
are they getting better? As like what
Yeah, no,
Carl's
I
saying.
think I kind of like Contreras. I've come around to the idea that they almost have to trade him now. So trade him this summer, trade him before the draft. Again, like it comes down to execution of that deal and what it looks like. If they redo like a Panarin for Saad type thing, then they're fucking morons. But I don't think that. I think basically the roster's terrible and the farm system is worse. So DeBrincat's one of the only assets that they have right now that is of any value to anyone. And he's 24. He's got a year left on his deal at a very favorable contract. He would be an RFA. So whoever you trade him to would have exclusive negotiating rights. His qualifying offer next year for the Hawks or for anyone would be just a qualifying offer, $9 million. So it's a steep price for a team that has no aspirations of doing anything next year. The Hawks want to be bad next year. They want to be in the lottery ball heaven, looking at Connor Bedard, Connor Bedard's probably the best pure talent prospect since McDavid. He's phenomenal. So he's in that 2023 draft. So they want to be in that top 2. There's another kid, Adam Fantilli, actually plays out in Geneva for the Chicago Steel, and he looks to me like an awful lot like a young Jonathan Taves. Like big, 6'3", fast. He probably has more like high end skill than Taves, but Bedard's more of a finesse guy where Fantilli is tough. So like, if you remove 40 goals, which you would get from DeBrincat, and you turn that into the package that's rumored out there was from the Devils, who have the number 2 pick this year, who you're going to get a very good player you're going to put in your top 6, and then they have these 2 prospects that are rumored to be in their plus. So if you look at that Hagel trade, where they got 2 NHL players in Kachuk and Radish, plus 2 first-round picks, that's like the starting point for DeBrincat. So you'd probably get a first-round pick or 2, and one of them is going to be the second overall pick.
Do you believe that, though? Do you believe the second overall is on the table right now?
New Jersey has said it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there hasn't been the last time.
For DeBrincat? I mean,
for anyone.
For anyone.
They've said that they're kind of close. Like, they finished last year pretty strong, and they spent pretty big last summer. They need like a legitimate top 6 wing to put next to Jack Hughes. And DeBrincat would look very nice next to him because Hughes can do a little bit of everything, but he's a great playmaker. And so similar where you have like that Kane, Strome, DeBrincat, where DeBrincat just finds those soft areas, and those guys are smart enough to get him the puck in those areas. Jack Hughes can do similar things. So he would be very, like, plug him in there, chalk up 100 points for Hughes, 40 goals for DeBrincat. It's a great fit. And it might launch them into that playoff discussion because they're close and they have a very strong farm system and young players anyways. So they're ascending. It's not like DeBrincat is Taves where he's older and you're like, well, whatever. He's 24. Yeah. So you can be like, hey, and they have money. They got plenty of cap space, so they could trade him, sign him long term, and then they have like their foundation. The Devils are ready to push.
Just
forward.
might make more sense rather than taking on another project.
Yeah,
a future,
right? And if you're, and they gave Dougie Hamilton, all that money, and they have some, they have some guys under contract, and like now would be the time for them, where they can afford it and bake that into their cap equation. And by the time their other young guys that are currently on the roster are ready, the cap is going to go up. Like the cap should be up like a lot right now, but COVID really impacted that. So we have that ESPN Turner money in the system. It's going to really help the Devils when they have to pay some of the Boquist brother, Jesper Bratt. They have all these like kind of solid, very young, solid core, and adding to DeBrincat is great. And if they can there's 2 prospects. I won't bore people with like who they are, but 2 forward prospects that I really like, plus the second overall pick. You're gonna by the time you want to be good again, and it accelerates your rebuild if you're the Hawks, because it's like, well, you don't have a first round pick this year, and even though the first round's not great, they're still obviously going to be awesome players. You're looking at trading DeBrincat and Hagel. You combine those 2 deals, you're looking at getting 8 players probably that'll be on your NHL roster. That's a no-brainer. You have to do it, in my opinion. Again, don't fuck it up like you did with that was the thing about the. We had gotten this debate of like, how do you judge a trade in real time? It's like, well, if the logic is fucked, and the logic on that Panarin Facade thing was always fucked. And I think that if you can turn DeBrincat, who is admittedly an awesome player, but a guy, if your goal is to win the cup, DeBrincat gets you closer to playoffs. Getting 4 players you can plug into your top 9 gets you closer to a cup. DeBrincat gets you closer to the playoffs. Yeah. So if you're trying, almost have to like hit rock bottom at the bottom of the pool and push yourself back up. And they want to be bad next year. And that's why, I get people ask me like, who do you think the coach is going to be? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I really don't. If they're turning Derek King into Ricky Renteria, I don't fucking care. Like just play hard, try to have good habits, collect these assets, and in 2024, 2025, I think you'll start to see the fruits of that. So 2 years from now, when these guys are 19, 20, you're going to see it, and it'll feel like, hopefully 06 again.
Seems like a no-brainer, though. If you get that second pick,
yeah.
Are you all in?
I think so. If you get the second pick, and then you get Alexander Holtz is this prospect that I love for the Devils. Like he's a winger, and they just don't have anything. Like they don't have, like, if you look at guys, you're like, hey, like he could be a part of a good team. You're hoping Doc turns it around, although he's been rumored in trades as well. And Reichel looks like a guy who can play in a top 9 role, like a good winger, maybe center, but I think probably a winger. That's it. Like there's nothing coming behind that, and they currently don't have a first round pick this year. So they need young players. They need young forwards specifically. They're okay.
And quantity.
Yeah, and quality. They have nothing. Like Rockford. Rockford's best players and most impactful players this year up front are guys who've been pro hockey players for 10 years, other than Reichel. So it's just like journeyman kind of guys who are hanging on, trying to get a paycheck because they,
What are the 2 picks from Tampa?
They get one at the first round in 2023, which is better. You would hope Tampa at some point comes down. So you're picking, that pick should be anywhere, let's say 18 to 24, you would hope, but that probably in that range is probably a safe bet in 2023, but it's a very deep draft. And then they have one in 2024 as well. And you never know. Like, and they have other picks from other trades, and like they traded Duncan Keith. That's actually something to watch out for too. Although I guess it doesn't matter. If Duncan Keith retires, all the cap penalties go to the Blackhawks. It's just like one of those weird salary cap recapture moves, but they're trying to be bad. So it's like, they don't fucking care if he retires. It's not like if this was 4 years ago.
It's catastrophic.
It's a disaster. Exactly. It's catastrophic. So it just doesn't matter. Like they're going to be intentionally bad. It's almost like when the White Sox were, trying to go through their rebuild. And I think the quickest way back to the top is you got to get 3-4 players that'll help you down the line. Pick some players to rank it.
Are you in favor of trading Doc at all, or do you?
I would lean no.
He's selling low, right?
As well.
What?
What do you think he'd fetch?
I don't think that much.
So why not just see if he develops at that point?
I'm in that camp. So he's 21.
But it's hard to see how he's going to develop on a shit team.
More opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and some of it is just not his fault. Like he was never supposed to be in the NHL at 18. Then he was probably, he was good in the bubble, so you could say like he was ready for the NHL in the start of that second COVID season. And broke his wrist. That's another lost year. And then it's like the team's a disaster with Carleton. That's another lost year. So if he has his head on straight, he still has all the raw talent that made him a top 10 pick to begin with. He also never should have been drafted 3rd overall. Like that was like, we talked about it, Bo Byram no matter what. Now you look at Colorado, Bo Byram, the guy that I wanted, he's had some concussion issues, but he has been awesome in the playoffs. Like he looks like a legitimate. The fact that they're going to have Cale Makar and him for the next 10 years is just like disgusting. And but Bo Byram, but like so if you like Doc, his whole narrative would be different if last year was his rookie year, which is what it probably should have been. And it's like and he wasn't the 3rd overall pick. Like if they didn't win, they won the lottery, effectively moved up from like 12 to 3, something like that. If they had picked him at, let's say, 11 or 12, and then last year was his rookie year, and he put up, I don't know what he had, 22 points or 30 points or something like that in 70 games, then everyone would be pretty high on him and feeling pretty, like, hey, like this is a piece of the future. He's not like, they were like, oh, he's Ryan Getzlaf. He's this. He's the next Jonathan Taves. He was never that. That was bullshit from the organization. Doesn't mean he can't still be a very good player. So you get, you draft a center this year with the number 2 pick. Then you get either Fantilli or Bedard next year. Now Doc's your 3rd line center. He plays a good 2-way game. He can get you 50 points. And now you're pretty deep up the middle. And all of a sudden, things are looking pretty good. And they actually are going to be in a position where they have to, I think if they trade DeBrincat, and there might be a ripple effect where it costs you Kane too. That's like the big downside for me. If Kane just comes up like, hey, like I literally have nobody to play with, then he's like, it might be better for both of us. I get traded, and that'll be a sad day for me. That would be a sad day for me, but it's just like, what are you gonna do? And then you'll see where you end up. But that's all the buzz is like, the NHL season's winding down. The draft I think is like July 7th, so we're 2-3 weeks away. and it's they got to start getting assets, and the phone lines are buzzing. And if you're looking at guys that have a lot of value, DeBrincat's the only one. He's the only one.
My last question would be how bummed out are you? And I know you're okay with you've defended him to death, Seth Jones, but
yeah,
I mean at some point that pick would have been nice this year.
Oh, I mean realistically, that trade
is gonna go down as
I don't know if he'll go down as a bad trade because he's starting an 8-year deal now, so he'll still be here. He's still an awesome player, and I would say that his deficiencies in his game are the one thing I've talked about, transition defense, but he mitigates that with some of his length. But that trade did set the rebuild back like 5 years, okay? Because what you gave up, now I don't give a fuck about Boquist. I don't think you win with guys like that, but they would have had that 12th pick from last year, and that would have, Mike Sillinger played the full year at 18 years old, and I knew heading in before that trade was made that was a guy that they had circled on their list, and he's power forward, big, mean. I think he'll probably be a perennial 30-goal scorer, top 6 winger, stud. They would have had him in the fold. Then they gave up their first round pick this year, which is going to be the 6th overall. You're going to get another very good pick. So that whole trade with DeBrincat, maybe you don't do that if you never pulled the trigger on the Seth Jones trade, because you don't need to acquire all these assets, because it's like, hey, we already have these 2 top guys, and it's a different situation. But long term, I think when they're good again, and it'll be like 4 years from now.
But you don't think there's a Contreras thing there where like, all right, when it's time for them to be good again, like Jones is going to take a shit?
No, I don't see, like, he's 26, so like I don't see, so he'll be 30 when that deal comes up. I would say the other thing I was going to mention about him is that he's not like the most efficient player with his movement, but I don't think that's him. I think he's covering up for a lot of mistakes. So if he gets with a partner in a system where it's not dragging him all over the ice and he's covering for this guy and covering for that forward, and it's just like they allow him to play a little bit more simple, I think he'll be better.
Different story. Better
defensively. And, he'll play sometimes 30 minutes now. Imagine how effective he would be playing 30 minutes if he wasn't like dog-ass tired from covering up for all these shit players and making mistakes over and over and over. He would be more efficient, and they'd be playing in the other end more, which is easier too. So I still don't hate the trade, but it's like you made that trade with the assumption that you were going to try to make the playoffs one last time with Taves and Kane and then blow it up. And he would have been an integral part of that, but you had the wrong coach, and the team was fundamentally flawed, and you had a couple injuries. But if your goal was to rebuild, well, yeah, like that trade set the rebuild back.
And there's no way he could be traded, right?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, if someone likes the deal and they think, I don't know.
I think it kind of goes, maybe not this summer because the cap's staying flat, but I think, if they get to a point, 2 years where people are like, hey, all of a sudden $9.5 million for a number 1 defenseman, that doesn't look so bad.
6 years left.
Yeah. And he's at that point he's 28, and I think that's plausible. But again, at that point, if you're on the upswing at that point, because you've made these moves and you've acquired these young players, at that point you need a guy to be your captain. That'll be Seth Jones. He'll be the next. If Taves and Kane are both gone, there's also, that's the other thing. I've talked to people from multiple organizations now. There is no market for Jonathan Taves, even if they ate half the money.
Really?
Nothing.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Nothing. Like, I'm saying like a 5th round pick, but maybe not even that.
It's like sad to hear.
It is. So I think probably the best case scenario for the Hawks would be for him to come back and have a good year, and then at the deadline be like, it's time to go. Yeah. Which again, it'll be another very sad day, but maybe he's ready for it. But it's like even if they wanted to trade him right now, they couldn't. So it's going to be a long year, but it feels like they actually have a plan for the first time since Dale Talon was a GM.
All right, so that's good.
Yeah,
thank you, Chief. We'll know more within 3 weeks. So
yeah, it'll be an interesting run here. But it's like it's sad, but it's like the right moves, but it's sad.
Yeah.
Mark Lazarus said trading Alex DeBrincat would be short-sighted madness by the Blackhawks.
He's a moron. He's an absolute
He's our Bob Nightingale.
dingbat. Like,
well, Bob Nightingale's a nice dude.
and I also think,
Yeah, no,
like,
I feel like
Lazarus
it's more
is a
about like you
douche.
hear the name and you're like negativity's coming.
yeah,
You're
but
Bob Nightingale, negativity's coming. Lazarus.
I also think, I think the other guy, Powers. I only read the headlines, but I think he like the next day took the opposite stance. So I think they're just like posturing,
I got to pull up right here.
Like, do you even believe anything you say? Oh, sorry. And so it's like, if you're listening to those guys, like, what the fuck are you doing? But yeah. So I think it's not short sighted because if maybe if they could get DeBrincat to sign for $8 million a year, long term, sure, maybe you think about that. But he's not. He's going to get $10 million on the open market. His qualifying offer is $9 million. So it just doesn't make sense. So you got to go get younger, cheaper, and hopefully better. And it could happen as soon as the Stanley Cup final is over.
All right, boys.
And I think the Avs win in 6.
Enough to recommend people use the Barstool Sportsbook to wager on that.
I'm a little bit worried about the rest versus rust factor because they make pretty quick work of Edmonton. So I'm gonna see if they've got legs. Doesn't matter because this comes out tomorrow.
Okay,
but I'm gonna wait until live, watch the first 5-10 minutes, and then probably bet Colorado.
Buy some merch. 4th of July line is out there. Chief's wearing a shirt right there. He's got the hat on too.
Yep.
Make sure you go grab everything. Barstool Chicago Golf. Other 4th of July shit.
Yeah, just like you're staying at like your buddy's like, hey, let's go to the pool, or like we're doing a pool day or something, and like you're like, oh fuck, I haven't been at a pool in forever. You're searching for don't be the guy who shows up basketball shorts, fucking Wheaton Warrenville South mesh, 2003 gym class edition. Get yourself some nice Barstool Chicago swimwear.
They are nice. They are genuinely like sweet. Those blue ones with
There's 3 different pairs
striping.
now we have that they're all cool.
They're all cool, but those blue ones are my favorite.
Are they?
Yeah.
I think I like the original best, but
Really?
those are nice too.
Yeah. The blue ones are my style.
Yeah.
Do we have lining in the trunks, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
got
take
it
care
all.
of your balls.
Yep.
It's a nice product, guys.
I might go for a little dip in the lake.
No, you won't.
Out
Why
this
not?
weekend, some stuff this weekend for the College World Series. Follow me. There will be some cool shit, but I will be back. I'll be back in the office next week. You guys do anything this weekend? Travel anywhere or do anything?
Father's Day.
Is that this weekend?
I think so.
Yeah, Father's Day. No, go check out the KFC radio show if you'd like. We got KFC coming up on a draft on Monday.
Yep.
Look out for that.
Oh yeah.
I think.
KFC went back to back
Yeah.
drafts. So, yeah, it was good. It's a good week with those guys.
All gas.
No breaks.
DJ, play that shit.